It's Tuesday, and that means it's time for another episode of Draw This. In this episode, we're going to draw balloons. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be using Corel Painter 2015 for this drawing. First, we'll start with the oval shape tool. It may be hiding under the rectangular shape tool. And you'll want to take a look at the shape attributes up at the top. You can add a stroke or a fill. A fill will fill in the shape, a stroke will put a line around it. So we want to make sure we have a fill, and we'll go ahead and draw out kind of a tall oval shape. If you double click to the right of where it says oval, you can get to the shape attributes, and then you can go ahead and just pick in your color picker a nice color for your fill and go ahead and turn the stroke off. So we'll make a blue balloon first. We'll drag it over with the move tool, and then a quick way to duplicate this is just to go ahead and hold Alt and then drag, and you'll drag a duplicate. We want to make sure that the foreground balloon is bigger so that it looks like it's in perspective properly. We'll double click next to that, and we'll go ahead and change the fill to something like a nice green color, and then we'll go ahead and duplicate it one more time by holding Alt and dragging. We'll go ahead and duplicate that blue balloon and make it just a little bit bigger, so this will kind of be the middle one out of the three. We'll go ahead and make that fill red as well over in the color picker. Now let's go ahead and free transform these and rotate them a little bit because they don't look natural being all upright. So I'm going to hit Control-T on my keyboard. That's a shortcut I have, or you can go to Edit, Free Transform. And then I'm going to select the Rotate tool and just rotate these by their corners a little bit. And then I'm going to name each of the balloons in the Layers palette and create a couple new layers for ends. This will be the little end where it's been tied off. And I'm going to create another layer for strings. So I'll just go ahead and hold Alt and sample those colors from the balloons. Go ahead and fill them in. And I'm going to select all three of the balloon layers, and I'm going to reduce the opacity by 10% down to 90%. That way they'll be a little bit see-through. Then I can actually see where to add the little end for the blue one. Now, since they're a little transparent, those ends are going to kind of stand out. So what we'll do is we'll add a mask to that ends layer, and we'll go ahead and paint with black and the airbrush to just kind of fade that end into the balloon. Next, I'm going to draw in the strings on the strings layer. I'll select a gray color and the detail oils brush, make sure it's really thin, and try to draw a really fast, smooth line. The faster you draw the line, the smoother it's going to come out. If you don't get it right, do an undo with Control-Z and just try again. It also helps to make sure that your strings converge down there at the bottom of the screen, so it looks like they're all kind of emanating from the same point. I'm going to return to the green balloon layer, turn on Preserve Transparency, and just go ahead and paint over all of the balloons with a darker color, because it'll just make it easier to make these gradients if we start from dark and work to light. So with the airbrush, I'm selecting lighter colors, and I'm shifting the hue a little bit lighter as well. And I'm just going and filling in lighter and lighter with my airbrush. I'm making my airbrush smaller each time, and each time I'm shifting the hue a little bit and making it brighter. So really this is just kind of building up the three-dimensional form. I add a few white spots with the airbrush, and then if things are a little too chunky, then I'll use the diffuse blur to go ahead and smooth out those transitions so they just kind of fade into each other. You don't want them to look too blocky, so smooth it out a little bit. That helps it look more smooth like a balloon surface. And I'm going to select the airbrush with white, and I'm going to paint in some background color. If your background color isn't white like in my example, then you would want to add in green if it were a green background, or blue if it were a daytime blue sky. But since my background's white in this example, I'm adding in white. Now I'm going to add in some reflections from the balloons onto each other. So the blue balloon gets reflected onto the green balloon and the red balloon, and so on. I'm going to add a little bit of side highlight. Maybe there's some other light source or something reflecting over on the left side, so I'm using the airbrush for that. Just changing my brush size. I'm starting out with kind of a medium-sized brush, and then I'm making it smaller as I get down into the finer areas of the reflection. Now I'm going to add a little bit of darkness on the underside of each of the balloons, because that's kind of where the shadow would be. I'm going to go to the ends layer, and I'm going to darken those so it looks like the balloon's casting a little bit of shadow on the ends. And then I'm going to use the bulge tool. The bulge tool is going to just it's going to inflate the shape, and it's going to make it a little more irregular so it doesn't look like a perfect oval. So basically it's just going to make it look more natural. What I did is I just used a really big brush and then just kind of pressed down firmly over each of the balloons to inflate them. I added a few more finishing touches, and there you go, we have some finished balloons. If you enjoyed this episode of Draw This and you want to see more episodes like this, make sure to click that subscribe button and check out some of my other videos. I have artist vlogs on Mondays, Draw This on Tuesdays, Wednesdays there's favorited digital art videos, Thursdays Photoshop tutorials, and on the weekends I have random videos.